opening your own creative space, like a pottery studio or maybe an art gallery.
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving deep into that exact experience with Artsy Artisan.
Oh, yeah.
It's an art studio in Jim Thorpe, PA, just celebrated its 5-month anniversary.
5 months in, that's a great time to check in. Are they living the dream?
Right. And we're lucky enough to have 2 interviews to really dig into this. One from opening day, full of excitement and big dreams.
Of course, of course.
And a second one recorded just recently, so we can see how those plans have actually played out.
It's like a mini time capsule, seeing how the vision unfolds. I love it.
Totally. So rewind with me to opening day. The owner, Maggie, is just brimming with energy, talking about this vibrant makerspace she wants to create for the community.
Community focus, that's so smart these days. Got to tap into that local love.
Exactly. And she's picturing it art education for all ages, locals, tourists, even thinking about school groups, homeschoolers, the whole 9 yards, with a real emphasis on workshops to get people creating.
That's smart. Workshops are a good way to, like, test the water, see what sticks.
Yeah.
Low commitment for people, too, right?
For sure. And in those first couple of months, May, June, it seemed like things were really clicking. Maggie said the workshops were packed, but then summer slump hit.
Ah, yeah, summer slump. It's real, isn't it? Gets you every time.
It does. But here's where things get interesting. Maggie seems to be approaching this bump in the road with this underlying trust. She talks about letting things unfold organically, trusting the process.
I like her style. It's kind of that abundance mindset thing, believing that things will work out, even if you don't have every little detail planned.
Totally. Though I'm sure there's a healthy dose of hard work mixed in with that trust, too.
Oh, absolutely. But it's that balance, right? The planning and the intuition. Especially when you're running a business fueled by creative passion, you need both.
You need to be flexible, adaptable.
Yeah.
Because things change, markets shift, and you've got to be able to roll with those punches. But of course, you can't ignore the practical side of things either.
Oh, no. The reality of rent and bills always comes knocking.
Exactly. Which is where things get really interesting. Because we see this difference in perspective between Maggie with her abundance mindset and her husband, Chris. He's the studio assistant.
The voice of reason, perhaps? Keeping things grounded?
It seems like it. Maggie's talking about trusting the journey, while Chris, bless his heart, is definitely keeping a close eye on the budget, making sure those bills get paid, which, let's be honest, is crucial.
Oh, 100%. You can't exactly run an art studio if you can't keep the lights on, right?
Exactly. So how are they actually bringing in the money at Artsy Artisan? Well, they're renting out studio time, which is great for folks who want to work independently but maybe need access to equipment or just a dedicated space.
It's like a gym membership, but for your creativity, right?
Yeah,
I love that.
I know. And then there's the custom work, the commission pieces, which seems to be where Maggie's passion really shines through.
Those one-of-a-kind creations. It's like, what do they say? Made with love.
Right. In one of the interviews, Maggie talks about this woman who came to her wanting a custom door hanger for her kid's room. A monster truck, of course.
5-year-old monster truck sounds about right.
And instead of just, whipping something up, Maggie actually incorporated the kid's own drawing into the design. Used the laser cutter to create this really special collaborative piece.
That's so sweet. And smart marketing, right? Who wouldn't want a personalized piece of art featuring their kid's masterpiece?
Right. Talk about a keepsake. And it really speaks to how technology can empower creativity.
Oh, absolutely. It's like these tools that used to be reserved for big companies are now accessible to anyone with a vision. And Maggie's really taking advantage of that with the laser cutter.
She's like a kid in a candy store. She said it's not just about the new projects it makes possible, but also the way it's allowed her to revisit old ideas, designs that she just couldn't execute before.
It's like this whole backlog of creative potential just waiting for the right tool to unlock it. I love that.
Me too. And speaking of unlocking potential, in the 5-month interview, Maggie mentions how the laser cutter has actually helped them tap into a whole new revenue stream. Custom earrings.
Laser cut earrings. Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Right. Apparently, they've been creating these super intricate designs, some featuring local landmarks, others personalized with names or initials.
Now that is clever. Tap into that local pride, the desire for something unique, personalized.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And it shows how a new tool or technology can spark all sorts of unexpected opportunities. Suddenly, you're not just an art studio. You're a jewelry designer, too.
Exactly. It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention, or in this case, maybe technology is the mother of creative expansion.
I like that. Though, like with any new tool, there's a learning curve, right?
Oh, 100%. Mastering any new skill takes time, dedication.
For sure. Maggie even joked about Chris becoming the resident laser guru because he's the one who really dove headfirst into the technical side.
It's like in any good partnership, you've got your strengths, right? He's the tech whiz, she's the creative visionary.
Exactly. And that need to master the laser cutter actually led them to another valuable resource, the online community. Apparently, there are these whole Facebook groups dedicated to laser cutting, full of passionate hobbyists and professionals, all sharing tips and tricks.
No way. So it's like a whole support system for laser enthusiasts.
Totally. Maggie said they found so much helpful advice and encouragement from these groups, people troubleshooting problems, sharing their latest creations. It's really cool.
It's like anything else, gardening, knitting, underwater basket weaving. There's a whole community out there for it online, and it makes such a difference, especially for entrepreneurs who might be feeling isolated or unsure of themselves.
It's like finding your tribe, even if it's virtual. And it's not just about taking information, it's about giving back, too. Maggie mentioned that Chris has started answering questions in these groups, sharing his own expertise with others who are just starting out.
Oh, I love that. Paying it forward, building each other up. It's that collaborative spirit that makes these online communities so special.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But let's be real, those early months of any business, especially something as, creatively driven as an art studio, there are always challenges, things you just don't anticipate.
Absolutely. And for Maggie, it seems like one of the biggest surprises has been the financial side of things. That whole, how do you put a price on art?
It's such a tricky thing because, in the 5-month interview, she talks about struggling to price her work, wanting to make art accessible, but also needing to value her time and skills.
It's a classic conundrum for creatives, isn't it? Pouring your heart and soul into something and then having to slap a price tag on it.
Totally. And it's almost like, at least from the interview, that Maggie feels this pang of guilt, like charging what her work is worth is somehow wrong.
I get that. It's like if you believe in the power of art to, enrich lives, to uplift and inspire, then putting a dollar amount on that can feel, almost icky.
It's a really interesting tension to unpack. Because on the one hand, artists deserve to be paid fairly for their work, their talent, the hours they put in. But on the other hand, you want art to be accessible, right? You don't want it to be something that only the wealthy can afford.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance. And it's something that maybe, we as consumers need to be more mindful of. Are we willing to pay a fair price for handmade goods, for original art, knowing that someone poured their heart into creating it?
It's a really good point. It's easy to get caught up in wanting a good deal, but we should probably be asking ourselves, at what cost?
Right. And I think this whole tension between art and commerce is something that Chris, being the studio assistant, he seems particularly aware of. Remember in the opening day interview when he mentioned that Ranger and his laser idea?
Oh, yes. Catering to the military community, right. I have to admit, at the time, it kind of felt like a side note. But you're right. It's like he's intuitively grasping this key business principle, finding a niche.
Exactly. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, he's like, okay, here's a specific market with specific needs and interests. Smart.
So smart. And it's like he's almost creating this separate brand. Ranger and his laser has a ring to it.
It does. Catchy, memorable. He's on to something.
You might be. It's fascinating to see their different approaches playing out, side by side. Maggie with her focus on community and accessibility, and then Chris zeroing in on this specific niche and a hyper-focused business strategy.
It's like a case study in different entrepreneurial styles, and I think it's a good reminder that there's no right way to do this, It's about finding what feels authentic to you, to your values, your goals.
100%.
Yeah?
And sometimes it's about recognizing that two paths, while different, can coexist, can even complement each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to Maggie's vision for Artsy Artisan. Because even with the challenges, the surprises, the bumps in the road, she hasn't lost sight of that initial spark.
You can tell she's still so passionate about it. In the 5-month interview, she talks about reassessing, maybe leaning more into the custom work, the one-on-one collaborations.
Yeah.
It's like she's figuring out how to stay true to her artistic vision while also, acknowledging the realities of running a business.
And that's the key, isn't it? That constant iteration, being willing to experiment, learn from what's working and what's not, and make adjustments along the way.
It's like that old saying, the only constant is change. And that's so true in the entrepreneurial world.
So true. And sometimes embracing change means embracing the unexpected, right? Like Maggie mentioning that she's thinking about expanding their online presence.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting. She talked about maybe offering virtual consultations or even creating like downloadable design templates that people could use with their own laser cutters.
It's brilliant because it allows them to reach a wider audience without being limited by their physical location.
Exactly. And they can tap into this whole like growing demand for personalized goods. People love that stuff.
They do. And, it could potentially even create a more sustainable income stream because those digital products, once they're created, they can be sold over and over again.
It's like passive income for artists.
Yeah.
Love it. But that doesn't mean they have to abandon the local community, right?
Yeah.
In fact, Maggie talked about wanting to deepen those local connections.
Oh, definitely. She mentioned doing more community events, maybe even offering the space for meetings or workshops organized by other people.
It's like she really wants to create a space that's more than just a business. It's a community hub, a place where people can connect and create and be inspired.
I love that.
It's like they're building something really special,
Yeah.
More than just a business. It's that sense of community that really shines through.
It does. And it's something I think a lot of us crave, that feeling of connection, belonging, especially in a world that can feel increasingly isolating.
It's so true. And it makes you wonder, right? Given Maggie's passion for teaching, for collaboration, could Artsy Artisan become even more of a hub for aspiring artists?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this. What if, instead of just those one-off workshops, they created a whole mentorship program?
Yes, a mentorship program. Imagine Maggie, with all her experience, her infectious enthusiasm, guiding the next generation of artists.
It would be incredible, not just teaching techniques, but also sharing, the business side of things, the stuff they don't teach you in art school.
Exactly, like how to price your work, how to market yourself, how to navigate the whole like art world landscape. Having that kind of mentor, someone who's been there, who gets it, it could be invaluable.
Totally. And think about the connections they could facilitate, too. Maybe pairing mentees with established artists in the area, or even, local business owners who might be interested in commissioning work.
It's like planting seeds for this whole creative ecosystem to blossom. It's amazing to think about the ripple effect something like Artsy Artisan could have, not just on Maggie and Chris, but on the entire community.
It really is. And, it's a good reminder that entrepreneurship at its heart is about more than just making a profit. It's about solving problems, filling needs, and creating something meaningful.
It's about leaving things better than you found them. Wow, this deep dive has been quite a journey, hasn't it? From laser cutters to custom earrings to community building and maybe even a mentorship program. Who knows what the future holds for Artsy Artisan? But one thing's for sure. They're off to an inspiring start.
They really are. And I think they've given us a lot to think about, too, about the power of creative passion, the importance of community, and the courage it takes to chase a dream, even when the path gets a little bumpy.
So to our listeners, we leave you with this. What creative spark might you ignite in your own community? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Artsy Artisan. Until next time, keep those creative fires burning.